Welcome to the special series by Value Research, where we will bring you insightful conversation with accomplished women, not necessarily investing in finance, but they have absorbed things. They have and they have tried to do things and impressive things with their own personal finances. So in this series, we explore their journeys, challenges, and the unique perspective they bring to you, which you'll find useful. So I start with my old colleague, with whom I have done the Investors Guide show for nearly 10 years, 9 to 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, 10
10
years.
years. And I learned on the way. I was also, a lot of things happening around that time. But to begin with, Faye, to get, you have always been asking question, and I've been answering. Now I'm just time to question you. What was your first investment, and what led you to, how did you go about doing it? Of course, you were in a business channel and you would have made some investment before that, but what was your investments? How did you begin?
So I must start by first of all saying hello to you. It's so nice to see you after so long. I want to thank you personally for, while I was working when I was asking you those questions, I was absorbing a lot of, your philosophy, and that has held me in very good stead in my personal life as a long-term investor, someone managing my own money. So I must also say that journalists, even business journalists, are notoriously bad at managing money because we never get around to doing it ourselves. The first thing I ever did was I think about 4 or 5 years before we started our show. I had started with a recurring deposit
Okay.
just to build a habit of saving.
Mm.
Because at that time, salaries were 6,000 rupees, 7,000 rupees. You wind up, just from living in Mumbai, and you're paying rent and you're traveling and everything. So for the first, I think, year or year and a half, I was spending everything I was earning. And then when I got my first raise, and, I think one of my parents told me that start saving. And I felt that if I kept it in my bank account, it would disappear by the end of the month. So I started a very modest recurring deposit of, I think, less than 1,000 rupees or something a month, just to have it be taken away from me, at the beginning of month. So I started from there. Then I did, I think, a life insurance policy, which I was not very good at. So in all honesty, my first life insurance policy lapsed because I did not pay the premium on time. And then there was a gap, and then I started doing SIPs into mutual funds. And this I had started when I had become a mutual fund reporter. So I was doing small SIPs into various mutual funds, but I think when you and I started working together, that's when I consolidated and actually started, looking at it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. No, because even today I get mails from people that they want me to continue maintaining those portfolios which they started investing. And some of those portfolios, if somebody has made no changes, it is still working. It has been reasonably impressive. So, that was when did you really got very methodical about your investing? The SIP, where you are invested. Was it
So
after Investor's Guide or?
absolutely coinciding with Investors Guide. So we started Investors Guide in 2008. So that was 18 years ago now. And at that point, based on the advice that you were giving, which I was listening to, and we were recording it once a week. But then after that, I would sit and actually edit that content, make the graphic support. So I was spending the whole week basically immersed in that content, right?
Oh,
So
and you were quite ahead of time with, very aggressive with Twitter and, the short, which were
yeah,
not the in thing those days.
that's another thing, though. We
I
started.
did not have a Twitter handle then, 18 years back. Yeah.
Yeah, so we started putting it out on social media, started cutting down those smaller clips which we could put out on social media. So it was at that time that I started investing. And largely, I think I copied we had a growth
Portfolio.
portfolio.
Yeah, yeah. We had an aggressive growth portfolio and a more diversified conservative portfolio. So,
Yeah.
yeah, five of them.
We had
And
an aggressive, a growth, a conservative, and there was one more, the name is
income portfolio. Yeah.
income portfolio for someone who's already retired. Wow. So I just copied, I think I copied the growth or the aggressive portfolio. I still have those funds. So I've actually, in the last 18 years, not changed the funds that much. I have, on two different occasions, taken out money for specific reasons, but continued the SIPs. And it remains, it remains my investments. I like the simplicity of it, actually.
Great. No, now it has become even simpler. Now you can do it with your phone, and you can
Yes.
put in the direct plan, and you can actually be on top of things, and you can insulate yourself from the noise. But when it comes to, all these things that you've been doing, and now you have been very busy building, your own presence. What else do you look up to for, or draw inspiration from, for investing?
For once in a while, I've still gotten back in touch with you when I wanted to know. So when my son was born, he's now
Yeah.
3 years old. I upped the investments a little bit because obviously the plan changed, the goals have changed, for which I got back in touch with you. I track the market because of work, but I try not to let that, phase me in any way. And the interesting thing is because I spent so much time with you, I've learned that concept. And now when someone comes up to me, like recently in the last, couple of weeks, people are saying, "Oh my God, the market is falling. Should we take our money out?" And I'm like, for how many more years do we have to say this?
Yeah,
So
it's a natural thing for people to react. Anybody, even somebody who is very seasoned, who has not thought through it very critically.
So actually, what I do is I have that set of funds that are already in my SIPs. And when I see the market has cut, and I know because I'm sitting with the news all day and I see the market has dropped a little, I'll actually pick up my phone and I top up some of my funds, when the market is falling. The other thing I do is keeping the same funds. I do this exercise where if I save money on something, so for example, if I've decided that, okay, I will find a cheaper way to do a particular family trip travel, I've saved money. That money, I will put it in the mutual funds. So it's not, it's savings that actually means something. So the other day, I felt that I needed to buy a new watch. And then I went, my husband will laugh at me because he thinks that you use the word, in Bombay, they say chindi, which is that you're cheap and you don't like to spend money.
Petty
To
things,
the
okay.
shops, and I found that the watches have become really expensive. So I came home and I took out my old watch, which was a wedding gift from 15 years ago. I went to the shop, I got the battery changed, I got it fixed, and I'm using it. And I saved a lot of money, which is now in my mutual fund. So I do a lot of this sort of, activity that makes me feel proud. So I feel a little, linked to it a little more. Actually, I have a question for you. You did say now it's become easier. You can use the direct plan,
Yeah,
but if we use our net banking
yeah.
and then invest from net banking directly, the bank doesn't give us direct plan options because the bank is the
Yeah.
agent here, right? So how else should we do it? And is it does it make a considerable difference to the return to use the direct option?
Oh, it makes a considerable difference to the overall return, the capital, on a 20-year basis. The difference between the, NAV or the return will be about 0.5% to 0.75% annually. And the net effect of this compounding over 20-year period, because, whether you are invested in one fund or another, which is less expensive, more expensive, whatever, this differential remains 0.5% to 1%.
Mhm.
And over a 20-year period, assuming that you are accumulating 20 lakh rupees, that 20 lakh rupee can potentially be 24 lakh rupees in the direct plan. Typically, this is how it works. But I think it is just one should do this calculation more precisely. And the way to do it is banks are a distributor. So if banks are selling mutual fund, they have no bank will ever sell a mutual fund on the direct plan, because but it is possible to buy the direct plan from a fund company directly, or uh, from these platforms, the Growth, the Zerodha, all these people, they are also selling the direct plan. You can invest in direct plan through them, and but you have to make the choice. And today, making that investment, you don't no longer do setting up a SIP. Because of this, UPI has been revolutionary for people.
Mm.
You choose the fund, uh, set up your UPI mandate, and every month a defined amount will be, debited from your account. And you don't even have to go to your bank to set up your, mandate or the debit mandate, which sometimes also costs money, a nominal sum of money, 5 rupee, 3 rupee, whatever. But and sometimes that rejection also can translate into some penalty. This is far easier, and the interface magic that I find that, you can do it in 3 clicks. There is a problem of these, the convenience of 3 clicks. That is why, a lot of people are trading their way to lose money. But if you want to really build your wealth by doing this methodical thing, then, setting up SIP with any of this 𝗥𝗲𝘀𝗲 or anything like this is very easy, including, value research fund advisor. Now we have a service, and I will be sending you a complimentary account of this thing, so that it does is, assimilates all your existing investments seamlessly.
Okay.
And it is able to tell you that what is suited for you, because, there are many good funds, and there are large number of not so good funds. But besides that, what is the appropriate fund? What is the right fund? Because you can have a great fund which is inappropriate, and you can have a very not so good fund, but it could just be right for you. Because so appropriateness, suitability of a fund is crucial when it comes to, you can have a great, liquid fund for your long term, but it is not a vehicle for the long run. Or for your short run, if you have an exotic fund or a sector fund or a small cap fund, that is where the problem lies today, where most disappointed investors are holding something inappropriate, and they did not know the other side of it. Okay,
So
now
I asked the question, but now I'm taking it back to you.
Yeah. I have, few more questions just to, understand how you have evolved as an investor and how you got initiated. What led you to pursue journalism, and how has your perspective on financial awareness evolved through your work?
So actually, when I was in college, that was the time when Prannoy Roy was reading the news at 9 o'clock every night, and it was the heydays of journalism in India. Even in the newspapers, N. Ram was writing in the Hindu. I grew up in Bangalore. We had a lot of influence from all these voices, and I decided at that point that I will leave commerce, where I was hoping to do an MBA, and switch to BA and do journalism instead. And I decided to become a journalist. And while I was in college, I worked for All India Radio for a while, reading the news. Post that, I moved to Mumbai and joined CNBC TV 18. And I was a mutual fund and insurance reporter there for about 2.5 years before they moved me around and gave me other assignments. So I think it was a calling. I was always meant to be a journalist. And I've tried many times in my career to do other things, but I keep coming back to this. I think this is what I was meant to
It also coincided with the whole takeoff phase of the activities then.
Yes, yes. And from then, at that point, when I joined CNBC, there was only one business channel in the country. And the whole stock market, this was 2003-4, the stock market was taking off. You know, the Nifty was what, sub 5,000 at that point? And it was new mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, new mountains being climbed on a daily basis. Mutual funds, insurance was just starting. ULIPs had just launched at that time in India. It was all nascent. It was new. There was a lot of work to be done in investor awareness. I'm very interested now in young people who seem far more aware than we did. When they start working, they're already investing. They know about it more. Their understanding of wealth is better than what we had. But I feel that they're also perhaps a little, their relationship with money is different.
Yeah.
So I find
function of, who has evolved through, lack of money.
yes, what levels of poverty you grew up in.
You grew with. So,
Yeah, I think that, the people who come to our offices now, who work with us now as young people, were all born after 1991, after India changed very drastically. And then there are those who are born after 2000. So they have not seen those days of only one.
Black and white TV. So
Black and white TV, no fridge in the house, no
Yeah.
telephone in the house, कि phone कहीं मतलब पड़ोस के घर पे किसी ने phone किया. So they've not experienced all of that, and their sort of relationship with money, I feel, is completely different. That could be both a good thing or a bad thing. I suppose we'll find out.
As someone who is actively encouraged, I witnessed this dimension of your work after the investor guide phase of my working with you. As someone who has actively encouraged public discourse on important issues, how do you think what do you think holds women back from taking charge of their finances? How can media play a role in changing that? I
I
think
think
most women actually take great pride in their naivety about being naive about money, or not being interested, or something they actually take great pride in today.
I don't know. I want to hope. I want to hope that that's not true. I know that this was true when we were working together, and I would speak to a lot of women about investing their money. And um, some of the feedback that I got, and this is incidentally, women across social strata.
Mhm.
Even I've met women in what could be considered ultra HNI categories
Very affluent. Okay.
who basically say that, we don't ask to keep the peace in the house. It's an
Mhm.
uncomfortable conversation to ask at the dinner table, how much money do we have? Where is the money? Um, a lot of There's research apparently that shows that young women who start working on their own manage their own money, and then when those same young women marry, they feel it is easier to hand off that money to their husbands to make the decisions. I mean, there could be various reasons for that. One of the reasons could be that we don't set good examples as parents, and we don't show both partners managing the finances. And when our daughters watch both partners, they start to feel that, okay, this is the man's job. The man is more comfortable doing it. I'm not sure. I don't know if we fully understand why this happens. I think that in the last 20 odd years, we've reached a point where women are in all professions. They are shoulder to shoulder with men in every single thing. They're flying the, Air Force jets, and they're astronauts, and they're politicians, and they're brain surgeons. So there is no evidence at all that there is a single job on the face of the earth that a man can do that a woman cannot do. So I don't understand where this underconfidence comes from when it comes to money.
No, well, this particular thing, in your experience, how can women build better financial literacy and, become more confident investors? What you're telling before we started talking,
Mm.
is that, they don't have to brag. And that was quite a point, I think.
I've always found this. So I find that women investors are more cautious in the sense that they're cautious risk takers. They'll take the risk, but it'll be very measured. They like simple ideas that are easy to execute. And also, most importantly, I find that women don't find the need to brag about their investments at dinner parties, which men do. So you'll always, in any dinner party, you'll see a group of men standing around in a circle and saying, "Arey, मैंने इसमें डाला, मेरा वो 3 टका, 5 टका, 20 टका हो गया. This is how I've like invested. It's very good." And all the other men will be very impressed. Women never do that. They invest very quietly and they never mention it. So I think that we have to, as advisors, appeal to that aspect of women and say that it's okay to use a simple form of investment as long as it works for you. There's been a conspiracy of the entire industry where whether it is banks or advisors or people who run these pink papers and these national channels who use words like CAGR and EBITDA without instead of simply saying profit after tax. So you make it sound like Greek, you alienate people who don't understand what that means. And then women tend to go back into their shell saying, okay, I don't understand what this means. It's easier to just hand it off to somebody else. I think we should simplify it and encourage the idea that investments are simple, which you have done your entire career. So this is
Yeah.
not a complaint against you.
No, it's not against me, but we can actually collectively, we are also culprit in a way that uh, we have been part of an ecosystem which takes great pride in these jargons, which
Yeah.
makes them feel important. They think that the other guy won't understand, and that actually makes you feel good. But
I think
what
investment advisors do that a lot. So if you call someone to advise you, he'll come home and he'll like show you all of these brochures and portfolios and start saying words that you don't understand. And I've always felt as an investor, I was like, listen, just tell me this in English because that is what your job is. And if I've not understood what you've said, you failed at your job. So I feel that more people should reject investment advisors when they use jargon in conversations.
At least asking some very basic question, what it is, what advice would you give to young women looking to enter the world of finance? Not finance, doing anything, but managing their own personal finance, especially those who, I find, they're so hesitant talking about it.
I feel like you should always have control over your money, maybe some of it even in secret. It doesn't have to be money that everybody knows about. Maybe you have a secret bank account that you're keeping just for yourself, or some secret mutual funds that you're not showing anybody, because a lot of times we arrive at points in our lives where we have to make tough decisions. That could be exiting a relationship, leaving a job, leaving a household or a family, walking out for your own safety or for your children's safety. And those are already very stressful situations. They don't have to be financially stressful also, as long as you look after your own money. So, whatever money you have, and by looking after your money, I would say it means that you have access at all times. Only you have access at all times in terms of passwords, in terms of, how to transfer the money out of there. You need to know how much you have, ballpark, on any given day, and you need to know where it is invested and what the risk and the return is on the investments that you have chosen.
The reliability of it,
Yes.
ability to get it back whenever you need it.
Yes, yes, the ability to access it, and that ability should ideally only be yours and not anybody else's.
Thank you very much, Faye, for your opinion, your understanding, and sharing your journey. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, as always, to speak with you. Thank you.